a good dinner or lunch? Yep. Okay. So before I start my talk, actually, I'm going to give out some points. So 5 points to. Actually, I'm going to exclude the young leaders in this. I'm sorry, but 5 points to the first person who can unmute and tell me what my talk is about. What is the title of my talk? 5 points. Actually, 10 points. Who can unmute and tell me what my talk is about? Okay, Jacob?
My talking title is wait.
My talk.
My talk is living a life that pleases God.
Yeah. That is your talk. That is correct. I will give you 5 points for being proactive and answering. Good job. My actual question was, however, what is the title of my talk? Oh, who's got their hand up first? Yaram?
Generosity?
Yes, good job. 10 points to Yaram's group because you had your booklet out and you had it on the right page and you saw what my talk was about. Good job. That was just checking you guys have your booklets out. If you don't already have it, just open it up. I hope you guys were taking notes from the previous activities as well. So good job for that. So yes, today I'm going to be talking about generosity and giving. So another thing I just want to real quick check with is I've sent on the general a Google Doc with a bunch of Bible verses. Could you have that open as well, please? Maybe on another tab on your computer or something like that, so we can switch to that whenever we need to. Can everybody give me a thumbs up if you've got that? Yeah. Shwen and Daniel still waiting for. Got that? Okay, I've seen thumbs up from everyone. All right, so I'm going to give you a brief outline of my talk, and I'm going to be talking about the 5 W's. Is anyone familiar with the 5 W's? Can somebody unmute and tell me what it's actually 5 W's and 1 H. So can anybody unmute and tell me what those are?
Who, what, where, when, why, how.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 5 points to Shwen's group. Thank you for answering that one. Here we go. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. Actually, where is not very relevant for my talk. So I'm just going to be focusing on, so who should give? Who should be generous? What should we give? When should we give? Why is it important to be generous and to give? And lastly, how? So some little practical tips. So the very first one, I'm not going to go through this exact order. The first one I'm going to go through is actually the why. So why is it important to be generous? Why is it important to give? Now, to some people, this might be the most obvious thing in the world. Like, it's such an easy question. You don't even need to ask it. But for some people, someone might say, poor people are poor because of their own decisions. I worked hard to earn everything that I have. I'm not obliged to give any of my hard-earned money. Why should I have to give? So who would like to answer that? Who would like to give an answer? So why should I give? I've worked hard to earn my money. I don't need to give to the poor. They should just work harder. I don't need to give. Can somebody... We'll have a couple of volunteers. What would you say to me right now? I'm your friend, and I said that. How would you reply to me? How would you respond? I mean, maybe in real life you would just ignore somebody who said that. But, Mia, yes? Just for the sake of this activity.
Okay.
I would say that your first sentence is untrue.
Hmm.
Should
Very
I-
good point. You can elaborate a bit if you'd like to.
Um, I don't know how to put it simply. Um, there are influences in our society that that prevents the poor, that prevents um, a good amount of poor people to climb up the ladder.
Absolutely. Excellent point. I 100% agree with you. Does anybody else want to add? So that was the first thing that I said. Poor people are poor because of their own decisions, and that is a wrong assumption, as Mia said. Anything else? How else would you guys reply to what I just said? Great job, Mia. 10 points, by the way. Kara?
Everything we have is not what we've earned, but what God has provided us. Everything we have, God has provided. There it is.
Yeah, it's not our own work that we've. So that was the second thing I said, right? I worked hard to earn everything I got. Maybe I did work hard to earn everything that I've got, but it's certainly a gift from God that He's allowed me to have these abilities to work hard and the talents that He's given me. Great point. Anyone else? We'll have one last person to respond. Yep. Youngman?
Yeah, I think in like most of the cases in our society, like our input doesn't necessarily always equal the output. Like meaning, in cases, no matter how hard you work, it might be that you just don't get the output like compared to that input. Or if you're like a son of like I don't know Bill Gates, then you don't have to do anything, but you would already have like huge amount of money just by being born. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
there like the argument that poor people are poor because they don't work is like
Yeah, exactly. Like, I guess to put it simply, the world is unfair. It's not just fair to say what I just said. And maybe I'm not presenting a very fair view of people who don't want to give money to the poor. I think I am a bit clouded by my own biases there in presenting people in that way. But yeah, I think everybody made some really good points. And I would also like to ask, so what has this got to do with GLT? Why am I talking about generosity and giving during a global leadership training Christian camp? It does seem a bit random, perhaps, to some people. So GLT, global leadership training, right? And we're going to be training to be Christian leaders. And part of that, being a Christian, is about giving and being generous. And being a leader is setting that example. We want to set the example of being Christians. And as I continue talking to this through this talk, I want to show you guys how being generous and giving is the embodiment of following Jesus and being a Christian. Not necessarily only that is what a Christian. I'm not saying being a Christian is only about giving, but it's definitely a big part of it. So, fun fact for you guys: there are actually more than 250 verses on the proper use of wealth in the Bible. And there's more than 300 verses on our responsibility to care for the poor and work for justice. Now, obviously, I can't include 500 verses in this talk, but I have included a big bunch of them. So, volunteer number one, well, not really volunteer because I asked you to do it, but who was number one? I texted you last night, I think, to read. Could you read out number one in the verses? I think number one was, let me find it, Jacob. Jacob was number one. Oh, there we go.
Who? Who?
Oh, Jacob, you are number one. I texted you asking to be volunteer number one or reader number one. Could you read out the first Bible verse there? Isaiah chapter 1, verse 17.
Sorry. Oh, sorry. I'm not ready now. So.
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. I'll read it then. Actually, how about, since we've all been sitting down for a while, can everybody just get up from their chairs and stand up while I read the Bible verse? Whenever we read a Bible verse, let's stand up and we can sit back down again, just because we don't want to be sitting down for too long. So Isaiah chapter 1, verse 17 says, "Learn to do good, seek justice, help the oppressed, defend the cause of orphans, fight for the rights of widows." You can sit back down again if you want to now. So, yeah, that is, I think this sort of summarizes my entire talk. We want to help others. We want to fight for the rights of widows. So in that society, widows and orphans were the people who were the most vulnerable in society, who needed the most help. It's not necessarily saying, we should only help people who don't have a husband or who don't have parents, but it's saying, we should think about who the orphans and the widows of our age are, refugees, people who are homeless, the poor, people who are disadvantaged, all those people. As Christians, we should seek to help them. And volunteer number 2 or reader number 2, who was number 2? I think it was
Probably me.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody stand up again while we're reading the Bible
What
verse.
verse should I read?
So it's in the Google Doc number 2, James chapter 1, verses 26 and 27.
Wait a minute, I'm not ready.
It's in the Google document.
Yeah, in the Google Doc, it's written there.
Okay.
So the link is in the general.
Oh.
Only me and Hannah are on it.
Oh, really? I'm on it over here.
I got it. If you claim to be real, rejoice, but don't control your tongue, you are fooling yourself, and your rejoicing is worthless. Poor and generally rejoin the sign of God, and Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress, and refreshing to let the world capture you.
Corrupt you. Yes. Thank you.
Corrupt.
Thank you, Caleb. We can sit back down again now. Good. Have a little stretch. So it's saying here, James is saying quite clearly that being religious, Christianity is a religion. If we want to, religion is not just about following what it says and just going through the motions and going to church. It's actually about the actions too, about helping the poor and being generous, right? And Jesus spoke about it too in the Bible, and we know if Jesus talks about it, obviously it's going to be something that's very important. Can we have reader number 3, please? This is reader number 3. Remember who they are? I think it's Yaram. Yeah. Okay, let's stand up again. Everybody have a look at the Bible first. And Yaram, could you read out for us?
Sell your possessions and give them to those in need. This will store up treasure for you in heaven, and the purses of heaven never get old or develop holes. Your treasure will be safe, no thief can steal it, and no moth can destroy it.
Yeah, so this is, let's stay standing up, because actually I'm going to move on to the 4th one as well real quick. But here Jesus is saying, we should give. It's quite clear, and I think it's quite a famous Bible verse. You might have already heard of it. But let's move on to Bible verse number 4 very quickly. Who was reader 4? I think it was, Mia. Thank you.
Matthew 25:35-40. For I was hungry and you fed me. I was thirsty and you gave me a drink. I was a stranger and you invited me into your home. I was naked and you gave me clothing. I was sick and you cared for me. I was in prison and you visited me. Then these righteous ones will reply, Lord, when did we ever see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink, or a stranger and show you hospitality, or naked and give you clothing? When did we ever see you sick or in prison and visit you? And the king will say, I tell you the truth. When you did it to one of the least of these, my brothers and sisters, you were doing it to me.
Thank you, Mia. We can all sit back down again for a minute. Maybe more than a minute, but yeah. So here it's talking about whenever we do something to help someone who's vulnerable, helping the orphans and the widows of our society, we're actually doing that to Jesus. And if ever we neglect, we're ignoring and neglecting Jesus. It goes on, the passage is a bit longer, and it goes on to saying, that Jesus, or the king, who is Jesus here, saying, you guys neglected me when I was poor, when I was thirsty, when I was hungry. And then they go on to say, when did we ever neglect you, king? And the king says, well, you guys ignored the poor, and that was me. So Jesus here is really saying that we need to imagine that these poor people and the vulnerable people in our society are Jesus, and we would want to care for Jesus. Obviously, if he was in that situation, we need to put that much care, that much effort, and that much generosity into helping people. And actually, I do have one more reason, which is not, so we're going through the why again still, right? So it's not necessarily a biblical reason, but this is more of a personal, possibly philosophical reason as to why I think it's really important, and why I'm personally very, I just find it something really important in my life. Have you guys heard of the term birth lottery? So shake your head, nod your head. Have you heard of birth lottery before? Okay, so the birth lottery is the idea that where you're born, right, it's almost like a lottery. So whether you're born, as someone said, the son of Bill Gates, or whether you're born as an orphan in a poor country, that is nothing to do with your own choice, but it's kind of just pure luck, right? All of us here sitting in our room are extremely lucky to be born in the lives that we are. Having money in the bank, in your wallet, some spare cash in your pocket, places you among the top 8% of the world's wealthy. You guys all here are extremely privileged, me, myself included. We're all extremely privileged people, and that is nothing of our own work. We didn't choose to be born into wealthy countries, or the place that we are in right now. So it's all the more that we should try and counteract that. So we should be giving to the people who weren't so lucky with the birth lottery. So that is one of my personal reasons as to why I think it's so important. And next, we're going to be moving on to the who. So who should be giving? Who should be generous? And I would like reader number 5. Are we on 5? Yes, reader number 5. So Mark chapter 12, verse 41 to 44. To read out that passage. Let's all stand up again.
So, yeah, Mark chapter 12, verse 41 to 44. Jesus sat down near the collection box in the temple and watched as the crowds dropped in their money. Many rich people put in large amounts. Then a poor widow came and dropped in 2 small coins. Jesus called his disciples to him and said, I tell you the truth, this poor widow has given more than all the others who are making contributions, for they gave a tiny part of their surplus. But she, poor as she is, has given everything she had to live on.
Thank you, Xuan. Let's all sit back down again. And so, I think this gives us quite a clear answer for the who. You know, it's not just the rich people who should be giving. It's not about how rich you are, how poor you are. It's just the heart that matters. And, you know, maybe sometimes you might think, well, what difference will it make if I only give like $1? You know, it's not about that. Jesus looks at your heart, and it's not just, well, I just said it again, but the who, my answer to the who is everyone. And the more you give, the more God will, you know, pour the blessing back in. So we should all be generous with that. So my answer to who is everyone. The next one that I want to look at is what. So what do you guys think? What should we give? What should we be generous with? Can I have some volunteers to answer? If you could unmute yourselves.
Money.
Yeah, Seb. Oh, who said that?
Sorry,
Sorry.
it was me.
Youngbin, yeah. Money. That's a good one. Anything else?
Time.
Sorry, Xuan?
Sorry, time.
Time. Yes, time. Anything else? Anyone? Oh, did somebody have their hand up? I can see. Hannah. Okay, yes.
Love.
Yes. Oh, love. So you guys actually got the 3 exact ones that I was thinking of. There might be more, but these are the ones that I could think of. So the main point that I want to stress is it's not just about the money, right? It's easy to just assume money when we talk about being generous and giving, but equally as important are these 2 things, time and love, or our hearts. So I would like to tell you guys a little story. So about specifically the love. So we actually went to visit a family in Turkey. So they were a refugee family, and so they were living in a very poor condition in one of the, like a very small rural area in Turkey. And we just went to visit them and to stay in their house, talk with them. And they actually shared to us that we were their first visitors ever. No one has come to visit their house. Nobody talks to them. Nobody wanted to hear their story, you know? And I just think it's so important that as Christians, we should reach out to these people. You know, are there people in your neighborhood, in your town, in your city that don't have visitors, have never had somebody come to visit their home, has never had somebody care enough to ask them, how are you doing? You know, there might be someone in your school. I don't know. There could be, I mean, with Corona, it's not easy to just go to somebody's house. I appreciate that. But, you know, try to make an effort. Try to show your love to the people who need it the most, who are the outcasts of society and the people who are in need of not just money, but also your time and your love. So that is the what. Hang on a second, I just got my face. What should you give? And the next one I want to talk about is when. And I do think this has a very simple answer, which is now. So don't just wait until you're older, right? Don't just wait and think, oh, when I get a job, when I get a high-paying job, when I'm rich, when I'm earning lots of money, then I will start to give. You know, you can do it now. There's no, if you have a look at all these Bible verses, and also I'm sure that all the 300, there's no mention of age anywhere. And also, we were talking about the, what was it, the who? That was everybody, including all of us here. So we can all do that now. And I'm not saying like every single day, you should always be doing it, but as often as you can. And I just want to go through perhaps a couple of reasons, maybe why it's easy to hesitate sometimes or even forget. So I think one of the first things or the first reasons why people don't give is because it does feel like you're not making much of a difference. You know, there's so many poor people in this world. There's so many homeless people. What could I possibly do to make any difference at all? You know, I don't know if I'm the only one who feels like that sometimes, but I think it's quite easy to feel like that, and it's overwhelming. Like, where do I start? How do I even start to? How do I make any difference? But you know, if everybody's thinking like this, how can we do anything, right? Even if it's a small amount, you know, like we saw in the verse above, it doesn't matter about the amount. And I think another reason could be I don't know how. I want to, but I just don't know how. I don't know what to do. And actually, I am going to be addressing that as the next one. So listen out for that. And I think another reason sometimes there could be selfish reasons. And I do it too, right? Sometimes, you know, it's easy to forget how privileged we are. We don't always think 24/7, I'm so lucky to have a meal, right? We all had lunch or dinner today. I don't think I consciously always think, I'm so lucky I have a laptop, you know? So many people can't afford their next meal. And we just forget that our lives is not the norm for so many people. And if we keep that in mind, you know, that's a reminder that we do need to give. So that is my when, which is now. And the last thing I want to go through is the how. So some practical things that we can do to be generous. And so I did mention one already, which is trying to find the people who maybe are not receiving very much love. But the first thing that I want to go through is Isaiah chapter 58, verses 3 to 10. So reader number 6. Yeah, let's all stand up.
Do you want to stand?
Stand.
Oh, you don't have to stand up if you don't want to, but I think it's good so that echo. Let's stand up if we can. Yes.
Okay. We have fasted before you, they say. Why aren't you impressed? We have been very hard on ourselves, and you don't even notice it. I will tell you why, I respond. It's because you're fasting to please yourselves. Even while you fast, you keep oppressing your workers. What good is fasting when you keep on fighting and quarreling? This kind of fasting will never get you anywhere with me. You humble yourselves by going through the motions of penance, bowing your heads like reeds bending in the wind. You dress in burlap and cover yourselves with ashes. Is this what you call fasting? Do you really think this will please the Lord? No, this is the kind of fasting I want. Free those who are wrongly imprisoned. Lighten the burden of those who work for you. Let the oppressed go free and remove the chains that bind people. Share your food with the hungry and give shelter to the homeless. Give clothes to those who need them, and do not hide from relatives who need your help. Then your salvation will come like the dawn, and your wounds will quickly heal. Your godliness will lead you forward, and the glory of the Lord will protect you from behind. Then when you call, the Lord will answer, "Yes, I am here," he will quickly reply. Remove the heavy yoke of oppression. Stop pointing your finger and spreading vicious rumors. Feed the hungry and help those in trouble. Then your light will shine out from the darkness, and the darkness around you will be as bright as noon.
Thank you, Sing. That's quite a long verse, but thank you. It was really good. So that is my first practical tip of how it's fasting. And do you guys all know what fasting means? So fasting is essentially not eating. So you could have things like a water fast, which is where you only drink water, or there's like liquid fasts where you only drink liquids like soup and juice, but no other types of food. You know, there's lots of different ways that you can fast. But here it's saying fasting is not just something that you do for your own relationship with God. It's important to fast so that you can worship and pray and read the Bible while you do that. That's all important. But another really important thing that sometimes we forget is fasting to help the oppressed, to feed the hungry. You know, the money that we save from skipping a meal could be, I don't know how much it would be, $5, $2, $1, whatever it might be. Donating that money to the people who can't eat, to the people who don't have that choice to fast. You know, we're actually extremely lucky that we can choose to fast. And that is what this Bible verse is talking about. We should, while we fast, we can help others. And I think a great practical way of doing that is donating that amount that we've saved from fasting. That is one little thing that you could do even at this age. And the second practical tip I want to give is related to Proverbs chapter 21, verse 13. So reader number 7. Yep, stand up.
Such shut their ears to the cries of the poor will be ignored in their own time of need.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So what I want to say about this is we shouldn't ignore, like it says, the cries of the poor. So to relate that to something more practical, if you're walking down the streets of a city, as I'm sure most of you guys have done, I'm sure all of you guys have walked through a city before. And when you walk through the streets of a city, have you guys ever seen homeless people? I'm sure in every city there are homeless people. And I'm not saying you should go out and help every single homeless person. That is not possible. But if you walk past somebody and you have 5 minutes to spare, I don't know, and $5 to spare, buy them a sandwich or buy them a drink. Or if you don't have money with you, talk to them, show them your love and your time. You know, that is something that we can actually do as of now, when we don't have thousands and millions of dollars to give to charities. But that is just my second practical tip. Don't ignore. Obviously, if you're hurrying to somewhere, it's not always possible, but whenever possible, if we do that, I think that would be living in a very biblical way. And the third one I want to say is, I'm sure many of us here, I don't know about everybody, but some of you guys might have a part-time job, or you might get some pocket money from your parents or some sort of allowance. I would just recommend tithing. So do you guys know what tithing is? It's about giving a percentage of what you earn to God. So it could be 10%, it could be 5%, 2%, 1%, 20%, I don't know, whatever you feel that God wants you to do, giving that amount to God in helping other people and being generous with that. That would be my third practical tip. So those three, which were fasting, not ignoring the poor, and tithing are some practical steps that you guys can do now in our age. I also want to talk about 2 more practical tips, which might not be relevant now, but they are goals that you can strive to in the future. And my very first one would be about creating jobs. So I don't think many of us here are in the position where we can give jobs to other people. Maybe not yet, but I think it's so much more important, not just giving money to people, right? But I'm sure there are many people in this world who would love to get a job if they could. They want to earn their own money rather than just being given it, but they don't have the opportunity to. So I want to encourage you guys to, in the future, be people who can give jobs to other people, not just giving money. So whether that be if you're in a manager position and you are in the position to give jobs to other people, or if you have your own business, or I don't know, there are many ways that you can be giving jobs to other people. But I think that is so, so important, not just giving money, but going out to other countries maybe, or deliberately finding places where there are people who are searching for jobs and being a job creator, not just giving money. That is my first future practical advice, I guess. And my second one is related to Proverbs chapter 30, verse 8, which is actually one of my favorite Bible verses. Could reader number 8, read that out for me? Okay, can we stand up?
First, help me never to tell a lie. Second, give me neither poverty nor riches. Give me just enough to satisfy my needs.
Thank you. We can all sit back down again. So I want to draw your attention to just enough, right? So my practical advice for this one would be living on just what we need, or just the amount that is going to satisfy our needs. So what I want to say here is maybe we could set out, so this is again for future practical advice, because maybe in the future some of you guys here, I'm sure there are a lot of smart people here, a lot of clever people who will go on to some high-paying jobs, and perhaps some of you guys sitting in here could end up being a millionaire or a billionaire. Who knows? But even if you are a billionaire, I would really encourage you guys to live only on that amount that you need. So think of, how much do you need for a month or a year? I don't know how much that might be for you guys, but set that aside. So the just enough, and the rest of it, give that away to God. Give that away and be generous with it. Now, I know, oh no, what was I going to say? Okay, so I think the most standard way that we could give is saying a percentage wise, right? So if we say 20%, so giving away 20% of what we have. If you are a billionaire, or say, okay, maybe billionaire is a bit too far. Let's say you're a millionaire and you give away 20%, right? You're giving away 200K. That's a lot, but that still means you have 800K for yourself. You're living with 800K. And personally, I think that is excessive. I mean, I don't know, maybe in different countries there are higher living costs, but I certainly don't think, hundreds of thousands of dollars per month or per year is not just enough to satisfy my needs. And so the richer you are, essentially, not just the more you're giving, but the higher percentage you're giving. So if you're a billionaire, you would be giving away a very, very huge chunk of your money to other people. And I know that sounds radical. It sounds crazy. It sounds like, oh my gosh, that's so much that you're just giving away. I want to draw your attention back to the third verse we read. Sell all your possessions and give to those in need. Now, that is actually even more radical. I'm not suggesting that everybody sell all of your possessions right now and live on nothing, but I would encourage you guys to just live on what is reasonable. Don't spend excessive amounts of money when there are people who are struggling to survive. And I also would like to stress here that we shouldn't feel guilty for having money. Okay? I don't want you guys to think, oh no, I have money, this is bad. That's not what I want to say at all, because God blesses us. God does bless us. He gives us things. He wants us to be happy, and he wants us to have things. But I think there is a balance, you know? There's a balance between having excessive amounts of money that you don't need and spending it on so much that it's getting too excessive, and then feeling guilty about having money and spending it on things, right? Don't feel guilty about having money, but don't hoard it all for yourself either. And so, yeah, don't forget how privileged we are. And I want to finish with another Bible verse, which is 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verses 6 to 11. So who was reader number 9? Let's stand up for one final time. Have a bit of a stretch. We've been sitting down for a long time. So yeah, Insu, could you read that out for us? Thank you.
Can you guys hear me, by the way?
Yes.
Okay. 2 Corinthians. Remember this, a farmer who plants only a few seeds will get a small crop, but the one who plants generously will get a generous crop. You must each decide in your heart how much to give. And don't give reluctantly or in response to pressure, for God loves a person who gives cheerfully. And God will generously provide all you need. Then you will always have everything you need and plenty left over to share with others. As the scriptures say, they share freely and give generously to the poor. Their good deeds will be remembered forever. For God is the one who provides seed for the farmer and then bread to eat. In the same way, he will provide and increase your resources, and then produce a great harvest of generosity in you. Yes, you will be enriched in every way so that you can always be generous. And when we take your gifts to those who need them, they will thank God.
Thank you, Insu. That's great. Back down. So, yeah, I think this verse sort of summarizes, sorry, not this verse, but this passage summarizes my entire talk pretty well. Don't give in response to pressure. Don't think, oh, God's going to punish me because I'm not giving. That's not a good motivation for being generous. We shouldn't be thinking to ourselves, I need to give, otherwise God's going to punish me. But we need to have a pure heart in giving and being cheerful when we're giving. And, you know, that amount might be different for everybody, but we need to listen to God in that. And yeah, I know this is not like the most comfortable topic to be talking about or to be discussing, but I do hope you guys are challenged by some of the things I was saying, and hopefully there were some practical tips for those of you who don't know where to start. Or yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for listening. And oh, before I finish the talk, I want to go again over the who, what, when, why, and how. So could somebody, maybe a different person for each question, give a brief summary of the who, what, when, why, and how? Who would like to do the who? Anyone? Yeah, Haram. Oh, sorry. Who put the hand up first? Shwen. Shwen first, and then Haram, you can do the next one.
It should be like, it doesn't really matter about your status. It's about what's in your heart. So everyone can give as long as their heart is in the right place.
Yep. Thank you. And then, so we've done the who, and then what?
You can give time, you can give money, and you can give love.
Yeah. Great summary. And then when? Yep. Ensu?
So basically now, and you don't have to wait till you're older, because the Bible also does not mention age. And when is basically as often as we can.
Yeah. Perfect. And then why? Who would like to answer that one? Sing?
Together, there are lots of reasons. There are lots of reasons to give.
Just a brief summary of a few of them. would be
Well,
fine.
it's part of following God, helping others, giving freely, and being generous.
Yeah. Great. And the last one is how. So just any that you can remember, somebody. Any last volunteer? Oh, yeah. Who is that? Somebody is unmuted, I think. No? Oh, Mia?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, fasting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we can do it popcorn style. So Mia says one. Anybody else say another one?
Tithing.
Yeah.
Making jobs.
Yep. Any more? Okay, I think the only ones. Hang on, I need to get my notes back out because I've forgotten. Yes, helping the homeless, not forgetting the poor, and then also the threshold thing. So just enough, remembering to have just enough for ourselves, and yeah. So the last, I think I forgot to say something about that last Bible verse. So the more that we give, the more God gives us. So we can create that sort of flow of giving and receiving from God and giving and receiving from God and just creating that channel of going through us to other people. So yeah, thank you guys for summing up my talk. And now we can move on to the worship.